Hello, welcome to Dungeoneers Pack, a channel bringing you player-focused discussions and character guides for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. My name is Josh, thank you for watching. The Druid has a variety of subclasses that focus on the different features or roles that make up the class fantasy. In Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, we are introduced to the Circle of Wildfire Druid, which allows us to step away from some of the animal identity of the class and instead embrace themes associated with fire. In this video, I'm going to cover the mechanics of the Circle of Wildfire Druid subclass, give my opinion on them, and give you some ideas on how you can fit this subclass into the official 5th edition settings. With that said, let's get started. The first feature for the Wildfire Druid grants the subclass fire and healing spells that reinforce the rebirth theme of the subclass. At 2nd level, we can cast Burning Hands and Cure Wounds. At 3rd level, we get Flaming Sphere and Scorching Ray. For 5th level, we get Plant Growth and Revivify. At 7th level, we can cast Aura of Life and Fire Shield. And at 9th level, we get access to Flame Strike and Mass Cure Wounds. While the spells nail the flavor of the subclass, the healing spells are already on the Druid spell list. The fire damage spells on this list allow the Druid to hit multiple targets at once. Flaming Sphere is probably the weakest option on this list, not because it's not a fun or flavorful spell, but it's because in order to control it, it competes with the key feature of this subclass, the Wildfire Spirit. There's one issue that the community has with this spell list, and that is the omission of the most iconic fire spell in the franchise, Fireball. I'm not really sure why this didn't make the spell list, as it would fit alongside the rest of the area of effect fire damage spells on the list. Maybe Wizards just didn't want to give the overpowered spell to another class, or they were afraid of the extra damage it would gain from the enhanced bond feature we gain at level 6. The next feature we pick up at level 2 gives us an alternative use for our wild shape. With the Summon Wildfire Spirit feature, we can bring out a fire elemental to help us in combat. As an action, we can expend one use of our wild shape to summon our Wildfire Spirit. The spirit appears in an empty space of our choice within 30 feet of us. When it appears, each creature within 10 feet of the spirit other than us must succeed on a dexterity saving throw against our spell save DC, or they take 2d6 fire damage. The spirit is friendly to us and our allies and obeys our commands. It shares our initiative, but takes its turn right after ours. We must use our bonus action on our turn to command it to take an action, and if we don't command it, the Wildfire Spirit will automatically take the dodge action. If we are incapacitated, the spirit can take any action of its choice. The spirit manifests for 1 hour until it's reduced to 0 hit points, until we use this feature to summon a spirit again, or until we die. Now let's take a look at the Wildfire Spirit stat block. Its size is small, it has an armor class of 13, its hit points are equal to 5 times our Druid level, it has a walking and flying speed of 30 feet, it's immune to fire damage, and the Charmed, Frightened, Grappled, Prone, and Restrained conditions. It has dark vision, and it also has 2 attacks. The first attack is Flame Seed, which is a ranged weapon attack with a 60-foot reach and deals 1d6 fire damage plus a proficiency bonus. The next ability is Fiery Teleportation. The spirit and each willing creature of our choice within 5 feet of it teleports up to 15 feet to unoccupied spaces we can see. Then each creature within 5 feet of the space that the spirit left must succeed on a dexterity saving throw against our spell save DC, or they take 1d6 plus our proficiency bonus and fire damage. The Wildfire Spirit is controlled like all the other pets that were introduced in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. Summoning this pet in the middle of enemies seems pretty cool, as it could potentially damage them all when it's summoned, but considering the spirit only has an armor class of 13, it's probably best to place it near you to escape using its fiery teleportation ability, or just out of reach from the enemies so it can attack them like a turret. The only downside is that the damage the pet deals can't overcome resistance to fire, but that will be a general issue for the subclass overall. At level 6, our fire and healing spells get a boost as long as our Wildfire Spirit is with us on the battlefield with the enhanced bond feature. Whenever we cast a spell that deals fire damage or restores hit points while our Wildfire Spirit is summoned, we roll a d8 and gain a bonus equal to the number rolled to 1 damage or healing roll of the spell. Also, if we cast a spell with a range other than self, the spell can originate from us or our Wildfire Spirit. Enhanced Bond is a pretty straightforward enhancement to our healing and fire damage spells. For some, the additional 1d8 may not feel like a substantial upgrade, but it can shore up damage on a die roll if you manage to roll low on a die or 2. On the other hand, when it comes to our healing spells, the buff will have a bigger impact as healing spells tend to have a smaller dice pool. When we hit level 10, we gain the Cauterizing Flames feature, which feels like it was ripped straight out of a video game. When a small or larger creature dies within 30 feet of us or our Wildfire Spirit, a spectral flame appears in the dead creature's space for 1 minute. When a creature we can see enters that space, we can use our reaction to heal or deal fire damage to that creature. The healing or the damage is equal to 2d10 plus our Wisdom modifier. We can use this reaction a number of times equal to our proficiency bonus and regain all uses after finishing a long rest. To be honest, I'm not really sold on this feature. The damage aspect of this feature kind of feels useless. Unless your DM willfully has an enemy stumble in the spectral flame so we can deal damage to them, we will be using this feature to heal our allies. I can see if you coordinate with your team to create a bottleneck where multiple enemies are clumped together and they are forced to enter the space of the spectral flame to attack an ally, but too many factors come into play to make that a constant reality. Also, when it comes to roleplay, no enemy will willingly enter any visible fire unless they know it will not hurt them. The healing ability is what makes this feature have any sort of usefulness. As long as we can position our Wildfire Spirit to create the spectral flame, all we need to do is coordinate with our teammates and have our reaction ready to use. The last feature for this subclass is Blazing Revival, which will allow us to rise from the ashes if we happen to go down in the fight. If our Wildfire Spirit is within 120 feet of us when we drop to 0 hit points and we fall unconscious, we can cause the spirit to drop to 0 hit points. We then regain half our hit points and immediately stand back up on our feet. We can use this feature again after we finish a long rest. Blazing Revival plays into the rebirth theme of the subclass. During those tough fights, this feature will come in clutch, letting us get back into combat at the cost of our Wildfire Spirit. This final feature is in line with some of the other Druid subclasses, as many of the features tend to be passive upgrades. Before I give my final thoughts on the subclass, let's take a look at how we can fit this subclass into the official 5th edition settings. In a traditional fantasy setting like Forgotten Realms, this could be a former farmer turned adventurer after a tyrant expanded their empire into their farmlands and are now searching for a way to overthrow that empire. In Eberron, this subclass can fit into any of the druidic sects in the setting, but I would use this subclass to play an orc druid that is a part of the gatekeepers. This character could be on a journey to master their flame as a force to drive out the Daelkyr, while also using it to heal the land of the Daelkyr's influence. In Ravnica, this subclass is perfect for a member of the Gruul clans. This character could be a believer of the boar god Ilharg, who is believed to bring on the apocalyptic event the Enraze to destroy the city of Ravnica so life can start anew. And finally, in Theros, this is perfect for one of the many flame speakers that worship the god Perforos, who is bound to an Oread, or this could be used for a satyr who has developed a bond with an eidolon of rebels. The Wildfire Druid is one of the few Druid subclasses that I'm actually excited to eventually play. The Wildfire Spirit and spell list really nailed down the intended flavor of the subclass. Despite Fireball being omitted from the spell list, the spells allow the Druid to be well-rounded as they will always have access to damage and healing spells. This will enable players to prepare crowd control and utility spells for the day. The Wildfire Spirit isn't the strongest pet found in Tasha's and never gains a power upgrade as we level into the subclass. Instead, the Wildfire Spirit acts like a turret that provides passive buffs to the Druid. The problem I see with this subclass is the same one I saw with the Circle of Stars Druid. All the subclass features revolve around the alternative use for Wild Shape. This means in order for this subclass to function, we must ignore our ability to Wild Shape to get the most use out of our subclass features. But as soon as we run out of our Wild Shape uses, we no longer gain the passive benefits that our Wildfire Spirit provides. I don't believe this should discourage anyone from playing this subclass, as I believe it is very well rounded, but it's something a player should be aware of and will need to learn how to manage in order to make the most use of your abilities for your party. With that said, I want to hear from you. What do you think of the Circle of Wildfire Druid? Let me know down in the comments section. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like, and if you want to see more content like this, I drop a video every week, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you're looking for another Druid subclass with some real star power, check out my video on the Circle of Stars Druid. You can click on the video on the screen to see the new features this subclass can bring to your table and how you can fit it into the official 5th edition settings. Alright, I'm out of here. Have a good one.